Hey y'all, welcome back to our channels. Thank y'all so much for stepping back in to see what we have to say. I promise y'all, it means the world to us. But with that being said, we're talking about Quant and its CBDC challenges and what that may mean for the road ahead. Okay, so if you tuning in, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you can be a part of the community and follow us on this journey of the ISO utility projects. Brother, I kick it over to you. What you got to say, man?
Well, you guys know the drill. Before we kick it into the outline, it's the Decent Wallet helps benefit the channel and get yourself a significant discount. If managing your crypto feels like solving a puzzle, it's time to switch to Decent Wallet. So just a few taps, you can manage, track, and secure your crypto with unmatched ease. And here's the best part. Grab your Decent Wallet at a discounted price by using the referral link below. Don't miss out on making your crypto experience smoother and more secure. Welcome back. So, believe it or not, Martin Hargreaves, among other people, were interviewed in this particular piece. This was posted on February 15th. Again, another thing that really flew under the radar because it's in regards to a topic that a lot of you guys, whether it's on my channel or Channing's channel, have brought to our attention. It's like Quant and CBDCs moving further ahead. Like, well, we know that Quant is so much bigger than CBDCs, and then especially like they didn't get the whole thing with the United States of America, but it's no big deal. But nonetheless, it's addressing some of the concerns. So what do we have? Well, basically it's this. It's this publication, and it's referred to as the FinTech Times. On February 15th, it's the highlight of our CBDCs doomed to be put on ice, exploring project delays, challenges, and potential. I'm telling you guys, this is a really, really super deep dive video. You have Martin Hargreaves, and again, the whole thing with the US. I mean, there's so much here to dissect. I thought instead of having you guys listen to 45 minutes of just this segment, we thought we would basically just bring you a summary through our AI assistant, who is Daniel, and just get into the nitty gritty about it. And then afterwards, we'll share some other key things that was posted roughly about a week ago on LinkedIn, and of course, give you some commentary of the insights of what's being dissected from myself and, of course, Channing. Again, smash that like. Let's go ahead and kick it in to that particular video, which is going to be coming up on your screen here in just a moment.
Are CBDCs doomed to be put on ice? Exploring project delays, challenges, and potential. While central banks across the globe have begun researching the possibility of introducing a central bank digital currency, CBDC, only 3 countries have officially launched one, and we still await one from a genuine world leader, aside from China piloting the digital yuan with questionable levels of adoption. Instead of getting closer to any CBDCs launching anywhere in the world, we are seemingly getting further away, thanks to a plethora of delays and pauses put on CBDC projects. In a new report released by security tech company Giesecke plus Devrient, G+D, and the independent think tank OMF, almost a third of central banks have been forced to delay their issuance timeline, while the proportion of central banks that say they are less inclined to issue a CBDC than last year has risen to 15% from 0 in 2022. In light of these findings, G+D and OMFF are urging central banks to take the next step and deploy CBDCs. They say that if they don't, they risk delaying important innovations. It's time to make the decisive step to create a public digital payment ecosystem with CBDC, explains Dr. Wolfram Siederman, CEO of G+D Currency Technology. CBDCs holds significant potential for advancing the digital economy. By offering a public infrastructure, central banks can pave the way for innovative financial products and services, while reducing fragmentation in the financial system. However, as it stands, central banks don't seem to be adopting this same attitude, posing the question, will any more countries take the CBDC plunge? To find out if most plans are doomed to be put on ice, we reached out to industry experts. Are crypto payments the future? Ken Turner, Chief Product Officer at crypto payment gateway BitPace, breaks down the economic and political conditions affecting the decision of central banks. While CBDCs have been a growing focus for central banks, commensurate with the rise in popularity of crypto and the explosion in value of Bitcoin, their adoption could be stalling. China has set a precedent with its establishment of the digital yuan, but other countries will potentially be slow to follow suit, owing largely to shifting political context. The U.S. administration has been vocal in its anti-CBDC policy, with Trump's recent crypto-focused executive order prohibiting the establishment, issuance, circulation, and use of a CBDC. While Trump has been more critical of a so-called digital dollar, there have been pushes to create a digital euro that could help standardize the crypto industry, providing easier and cheaper alternative to the currently fragmented payments landscape in which merchants work. With different attitudes emerging regionally, it could be the case that while some central banks, like those in America, are more reticent to issue a CBDC, we will see promotion of the idea in regions like the EU. It's true that some enthusiasm has cooled, with many central banks shifting from aggressive promotion to a more measured wait-and-see approach. However, the appeal of cryptocurrency as a normalized payment method is increasing substantially. Democratizing digital payments and making them as easy as a tap on your screen can open up huge possibilities for free-flowing trade, owing to a more financially secure, reliable, and inclusive economy. Contrasting attitudes. Central bank digital currency, CBDC, exploration is becoming increasingly fragmented across the globe, adds Martin Hargreaves, Chief Product Officer at Quant, a distributed ledger technology service provider that improves connections and communications between blockchains. Currently, the UK is well positioned to launch a CBDC. Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey recently noted a strong need to modernize payment practices, especially for cross-border transfers, adding that we must continue to prepare for retail CBDC. The newly elected Labour government also seems more enthusiastic than its conservative predecessor. Under its financial services plan, it has committed to continued work on creating a digital pound. In contrast, the US sits at the opposite end of the spectrum. President-elect Trump has been a vocal opponent of CBDC and has supported the CBDC Anti-Surveillance Act, which prevents the Fed from issuing a CBDC without congressional approval. Having vowed to make the US the crypto capital of the world, his election victory means that at least for the duration of his term, we can rule out the prospect of a digital dollar. The EU finds itself somewhere in the middle. While the European Central Bank, ECB, has pushed ahead with work on creating a digital euro, it faces the challenge of securing buy-in from its member states, many of whom are less enthusiastic about the project than the ECB and European Commission. CBDC development will therefore be gradual and inconsistent, with different jurisdictions moving at different paces. Situational differences. Lorian Carter, market research analyst at Juniper Research, explains why developing and developed countries can have varying views on CBDCs. As global research into retail CBDCs progresses, countries are diverging in their approach. A clear pattern is emerging. While developing nations are moving forward with retail CBDCC development, many developed countries are beginning to put their projects on pause. Emerging economies are motivated by the need to promote financial inclusion and address digital divides, whereas the vast majority of consumers within developed economies already have reliable payment systems. While a retail CBDC is still useful for promoting resilience and choice within developed economies, central banks in developed countries are likely to prioritize wholesale CBDCs over retail CBDCs in the short term. Norway, Sweden, Canada, Australia, and most recently the US have all announced a pause or ban on issuing a retail CBDC. This is not surprising, as most developed countries are already well served by their existing retail payment infrastructure. Most developed countries already have instant payment systems or access to other low-cost digital payment networks, which renders a retail CBDC relatively unnecessary from a consumer perspective. However, as cash levels continue to decline and cryptocurrency use grows, it is likely that central banks in developed countries will eventually turn to retail CBDCs to preserve the role of central bank money in the long term. Is it over for CBDCs before it even began? According to Simon McLaughlin, CEO at Uphold, the infrastructure provider for on-chain payments, banking, and investments, CBDCs' days are numbered. While CBDCs promise the convenience of digital payments coupled with centralized control, they raise concerns about privacy, transactional surveillance, and government overreach. They are, in effect, government-controlled, programmable, and trackable money with the ability to include or exclude individuals from global financial systems at the click of a mouse. Big Brother money. CBDCs also ignore, with Bitcoin at least, one of the cryptocurrency's main strengths, namely a finite supply, whereas with CBDCs there is no limit to the amount that central banks can issue, giving them the ability to print digital money with the negative effects that incurs, such as the devaluation of savings and upward inflationary pressure. Stablecoins, on the other hand, offer significant upsides compared to CBDCs. They operate on a decentralized ledger and are already gaining mainstream acceptance. Over 95% of the stablecoin market consists of USD-pegged stablecoins like USDC and BUSD. Going forward, they will undoubtedly have a growing role in the global economy, initially as an instrument for things like cross-border payments, but in the medium to long term as a more efficient alternative to day-to-day commerce. 2025 may well be the year that we simply refer to stablecoins as money. U.S. influence. In recent days, the Federal Reserve has made its stance on CBDCs increasingly clear, explains Ronan Koyokaru, CEO of 8G1.io. Chairman Jerome Powell stated unequivocally that the Fed will not introduce a CBDC during his tenure, which lasts until May 2026. This comment came during a Senate Banking Committee hearing, where Powell confirmed that launching a digital dollar is not on the central bank's agenda under his leadership. His remarks reflect broader skepticism within the Fed about whether a CBDC is necessary, especially considering the efficiency of existing electronic payment systems and concerns about potential risks to financial privacy. Further reinforcing this cautious approach, Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller has argued that innovation in the payments sector should be driven by the private sector rather than the government. Speaking at the Clearinghouse Annual Conference 2024, Waller questioned the rationale for government-led digital currency initiatives, suggesting that without clear market failures, there is little justification for such intervention. He reiterated his doubts about the benefits of a CBDC, pointing instead to stablecoins, privately issued digital currencies tied to stable assets, as a more viable alternative. While acknowledging the potential of these digital assets, he stressed the need for proper regulatory oversight to manage associated risks. Policymakers appear to be leaning toward allowing private sector innovations to shape the future of digital payments, with regulatory frameworks ensuring financial stability and consumer protection. In summary, despite global interest in central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, progress has been slow, with only 3 countries officially launching one and major economies like the US and EU lagging behind. China's digital yuan is in pilot mode, but adoption remains uncertain. A report by Giesecke plus Devrient, G+D, and OMFIF highlights growing delays, with nearly a third of central banks postponing CBDC timelines and 15% now less inclined to issue one, up from 0% in 2022. The report urges action, arguing CBDCs could drive innovation and standardize digital payments, but central banks appear hesitant. Experts note contrasting regional attitudes. In the US, political opposition, including Trump's anti-CBDC stance and a proposed ban, dims prospects for a digital dollar. The UK shows promise, with the Bank of England and Labour government pushing for a digital pound. The EU is exploring a digital euro, but faces resistance from member states. Developing nations see CBDCs as tools for financial inclusion, while developed countries, with robust payment systems, prioritize wholesale over retail CBDCs or pause projects entirely, e.g. US, Canada, Norway. Challenges include privacy concerns, government control, and competition from stablecoins, which offer decentralized alternatives and are gaining traction. Critics argue CBDCs risk inflation and surveillance, while stablecoins and private sector innovation could dominate digital payments. The U.S. Federal Reserve, under Jerome Powell, has ruled out a CBDC before 2026, favoring private sector solutions with regulatory oversight. Overall, CBDC development remains fragmented, with uncertain momentum globally. Thanks for listening. Let's now kick it back to Channing and Max.
Thank you very much, Daniel. That was quite the report to get into. I know it was quite lengthy, but there's so much there that needs to be mentioned. And if you guys would have listened to us just read that all, I think it would have got a little bit boring. So hopefully you guys appreciate the visuals. I thought I did a very excellent job, to say the least. But Channing, moving forward, the way I look at it is like this. Yes, there's, of course, challenges for Quant ahead. And there's going to be a lot in regards to retail CBDC in the future, as pointed out by, I believe, the European Union stated that, basically speaking, there wouldn't be a retail CBDC until 2027. So to hear Jerome Powell say 2026, whatever the case be, it's not going to happen this year, and especially it's not going to happen in the United States as ruled by Donald Trump. But what we're forgetting to mention here is wholesale CBDCs. That's a whole different aspect in itself. Quant is definitely at the forefront, and there's so much more than just CBDCs. So your thoughts in regards to Daniel, our AI assistant, and his findings, Mr. Channing.
Yeah, Daniel is actually kind of cool. Daniel, that was a long video though. So thank you guys all for tuning in and stand the course and listen to Daniel explain that article, because it was well worth it. It was very, very, very informative. But like Maximus just said, yes, wholesale CBDCs are real, and things like Project Agora that are currently going on now, going through the testing and beta, is just that. That is what that is. That is 7 central banks coming together and 42 banks within their jurisdiction sending cross-border wholesale CBDCs. So just because a retail CBDC may not be up and running and operational, but the wholesale is right on task, right on target, and the the roadmap wasn't for retail until 2028 anyway, 2028, 2029 anyway. So, there's a lot of things can happen in between 2025, where we sit right now, and 2028, 2029. We don't know what type of geopolitical things may take place. And we all know no one wants to get left behind. So if one of those, like he said, major countries like China's really get adopted, or Russia, or India, America's not gonna have a choice but to step it up, whether it's stepping up with a CBDC or stepping it up with a some type of US backed stable coin. Like, this is we're going with USDC, or we're going with ROUSD, or whatever the case may be. It's inevitable. It's going to happen because it just has to happen. Like, there's no way to get around innovation. There's no way to get around technology. It keeps advancing, it keeps moving, it keeps growing, it keeps progressing. And if you want to keep advancing, progressing, and moving, you have to adopt with the times. It just is what it is. So whether it's a CBDC, stable coin, whatever the case may be, digital money is coming, digital money is here, and digital money is here to stay. So whether those innovations take a year, 2 years, 5 years, or 6 months, it's coming. The internet of value, the internet of trust, the finternet, it's happening. So that's my thoughts, brother. Kick it back over to you.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Channing. Yes, I do agree it's happening. And obviously, glad to bring that to you guys. We do have a little bit more that we want to share with you with recent findings about roughly a week ago from LinkedIn. Check this out. As it comes up on your screen, it is from this particular gentleman. You may have never seen this person. He is Ao Oger Inola. I'm probably butchering up his name. He's part of this thing called building, NOBO. Now, what is this? Well, in the finding from Quant Papa, it says that he's the CEO and CTO. He's also formerly part of IBM. As you guys know, I have covered a lot about IBM recently, especially when it comes to, Quant Network and Stronghold, obviously also Stellar. So I want to get more into this. As we see here, he says about a week ago, this key finding, many thanks to Innovate Finance. And it goes on to mention also the Digital Pound Foundation for facilitating this roundtable with the FCA's Matthew Long. And on top of that, Jane Moore to hear feedback from the industries on the FCA's crypto roadmap earlier this week. Again, this is about a week ago. It goes on to also mention great to meet lots of other industry players, some for the first time, and of course, some familiar faces, including some of these people. But I'll just highlight this. Obviously, Gilbert Verdian, part of that panel. Now, as I pull this up, I want you guys to see it for yourself on the other tab. And here it is. You see Innovate Finance. You see all these big players here. And of course, it's a picture over the top part of Gilbert Verdian, but that is definitely Gilbert Verdian, the Quant Network. So get further into this and why we bring it to you guys, I want you to see this other highlight. And about 3 weeks ago, you had Prasanna Lohar, part of a thing called LinkedIn Top Voice, Top or Tech Architect. And basically, 3 weeks ago, it says asset tokenization momentum in 2025. Comprehensive report on why you should start caring about the technology. Again, this is a reference back to what we originally shared with you, but this time we will give you another update. Yeah, call it LACchain update if you want. Asset tokenization is gaining momentum in the financial sector. It's influenced by the global surge in interest in blockchain technology. The paradigm shift is reshaping, how financial markets operate, introducing possibilities for enhanced efficiency and new products and services. Now, I did mention the whole thing about blockchain, but read between the lines. In Latin America, with its unique market characteristics, the adoption of blockchain tech could provide significant solutions to existing financial challenges. Through a comprehensive analysis drawing on academic literature, news and media publications, case studies, and insights from market experts, MasterCard, presently speaking, has a nuanced understanding of the market's evolution. And here's the highlights. Asset tokenization emerges as a likely path for cost and operational efficiency. I'll state that again. Asset tokenization. Quant Network definitely shines in that regard. How so? It's improved data management and interoperability. Again, back to what Channing always says. How do you say quant without saying quant? So there will be new lines of business within the financial sector, but financial institutions will benefit by embracing this technology. All right. That means what's next? Well, while regulation remains under definition, it should not be perceived as a roadblock. All right. So it talks about this paper. And in the paper, again, who you see at the top, it says Ava Labs. That was January 2025. And again, MasterCard and Ava Labs. Now we know about MasterCard. We know about Visa. We know about so many of these key things, to say the least, right? So the way I look at it is interesting to see this come out. And I won't play all 26 pages of this, but it's really, really interesting to see, again, all of it come together. And especially when it talks about Latin America, smart contracts, so on and so forth. But again, Ava Labs, there's even Avalanche. As we know, we have on the Quant Network site interoperability with Avalanche. And basically, like it says, MasterCard leads the charge in revolutionizing the landscape. MasterCard has the MTN. MasterCard's got the thing going on with Quant, Stellar, and even Hedera. Okay, so there's a lot to be mentioned here. And before we wrap it up, I want to point out this other key thing. So it's from the Gilbert Verdian / Quant Network Telegram, the IETF work. It's the patents. It says Gilbert Verdian says, yeah, of course, it's always been about that. 25 years of experience has its merits. And as we basically finalize this, when you think about it, it's the UK's future of finance. You should be thinking of quant when you see that. This has been in the work for years. Remember, we only see the surface, and we've only already seen the UK RLN, Pay UK, Gov UK, Cloud, and Rosalind involved with overledger's capabilities. Just imagine what's beneath the iceberg. Right. Exactly. All this is just the tip of the iceberg. And, at the end of the day, we can blow this up on the other screen and show you what we're talking about. And I've showed a little bit about this. So for one, Quant Papa in the past, about over a year or two ago, highlighted this key person that you see with the green arrow, Tom Mutton. Just in case you don't know who he is the director of FinTech at the Bank of England. He spent about 11 years, 11 months, at least at the time the screenshot was taken. And of course, you see sitting next to him is Gilbert Verdian. Why would these guys want to get involved with what Quant has to offer? Well, think about it. They all were part of the RLN. They all did these pilots. Then went from there with the RSN. But you see the logo in the back, MasterCard. Heck, you even see OKX. Of course, you see Quant Network, so on and so forth. But interoperability and scalability. Then you also see the whole thing about Quant, big international settlements, Quant, the Digital Pound Foundation, Quant and HSBC, R3, and of course, let's face it, MasterCard's biggest competitor, Visa, but it was among 13 others chosen by UK Finance to join the next prototype phase. And again, every single time when we get more further into this, you see the big people. You see, obviously, Gilbert Verdian. You see, for example, not just him, but you see Jana Pache from the Digital Pound Foundation. You see Tony McLaughlin, literally right next to Jana Pache. And the guy with his arms crossed is Tom Mutton, director of CBDC Bank of England. So, I mean, again, they're all here, but bottom left, Quant named a supplier on UK government's CCS G Cloud 12 framework. And Channing, let's face it, you cover this too, along with myself, specifically about what? How at this point it's not just G Cloud 13 or G Cloud 12, literally it's G Cloud 13. We saw Quant Network into patents, brother. I want to get your closing thoughts with all the findings. I think Quant solves the problem of these CBDC challenges moving forward. But in reality, even if Quant wasn't part of the whole thing of CBDCs, they got so much more there because they're not just the tip of the iceberg. They're the entire iceberg.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Just that one post from Tokenizer says so much. Just looking at the timeline and the history behind Quant Network, the Bank of England, the Digital Pound Foundation, the government of the UK, and literally the software that the government sits in, your G Cloud 12, your G Cloud 13, and up and coming G Cloud 14. Understand the things that have been laid out in front of us in regards to Quant Network. They have been leaving us breadcrumbs for years now. And now it's time to take those breadcrumbs and make our way back to grandmama's house. Yes, because literally the light at the end of the tunnel is QNT utilization, full on throttle of overledger, because the writing on the wall is saying it. And I honestly feel like I think the UK might be that thing that actually kicks overledger into overdrive, actually showing the world, hey, this technology that we have cultivated here on these shores, it works, it's resilient, it's future proof. My government is using it, my banking system is using it, the stock market is using it, the independent industries of just finance within the country, as far as your conglomerates, your big businesses, your little businesses, how people get their paychecks. All of these things are utilizing this technology and it works. And I think that's going to be the thing that really kickstarts the global mass adoption of that overledger technology. Not to mention that you already have big players like Oracle, and there are 430,000 customers and 7 million plus transactions daily. Understand what that's going to mean for utility in motion once these breadcrumbs that's being left actually lead us to the promised land of utility. So with that being said, brother, I'm going to kick it back over to you.
I have nothing else to add to that. I think, well said. You guys saw what we shared, a little bit longer of a deep dive, but where the case be, even with the mention in regards to Latin America, come on, guys, think about it. Blockchain regulations, once they're passed, those floodgates, if you will, they open. Those gateways, they all open. Then that is utility in motion. Everything that we're seeing right now basically is like this. It's not that motion. Very, very small trickles of motion, if you will. My thing is hold on to what you have and understand the research being provided to you guys, not just in this video. And it's not just us. There's a lot of other awesome people in our community. So with that said, speaking of community, check us out every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, in regards to our X space with Sebastian, myself, and of course Channing. We have special guests like Mine Crypto. Again, support these brothers in the space. But we won't keep you any further. Do us a favor, listen to the entire outline and type in this key word into the comments, and that is overdrive. Why did I mention overdrive? Channing mentioned it earlier, kicking it into overdrive. So, as the saying goes, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. And with that also said, Channing, you got something you want to tell everybody?
Y'all already know. Peace out.
Peace out, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.